All right, we are live. All right.
This business.
No, you don't. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to know everything. And good. Well, I'm really happy to have you here, Aaron. Thank you for spending some time with us this evening. We're really excited. We have people who are looking at the business. They haven't made a decision yet. We have people who are in the business, who are part of ARIIX, and so we have a variety of different people. And we wanted, so all of you who are listening, I just want to make sure you guys know who we're talking with tonight. This is Aaron Decker. I met him at one of the events a few years ago, and we connected. We bonded really tight, really closely. We had a great connection and been working together in building this company. And I'm really excited to have him on because he's got a great story. And for some of you, maybe you have read a little bit of his bio, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be asking you, Aaron, to share a little bit of your story. I was quite amazed to hear that you've been in sales since you're 5 years old. And you've been through many things in your life, many great things that you've accomplished, but also some struggles. And now you're one of the top leaders in the company, and you've done an amazing job and been helping so many people. And so it's just a pleasure to work with you. So thank you for joining us tonight, Aaron.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's an honor to be here. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm not the greatest with technology, and I'm actually in my barn because we got a big event in the house, and I just got done with 40 kids. We run a ranch for kids too, so it's been an eventful evening so far. So
that's amazing. Well, that's one of the things we want to hear about because the business allows us to do all kinds of things and contribute charity-wise and do all kinds of things. So we'll get to that. I just definitely want to hear that part as well. So Aaron, tell us a little bit about, first of all, you're 5-year-old. What's that thing? What happened there?
It's a great story. I grew up in a small little town. Some of you might have heard of. There's a little company about 60 years ago started there called Amway. And the town where they started was Ada. I could have written the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. School teacher. My best friend 2 doors down, his dad was actually a triple diamond in Amway. And so the joke is his dad always tried to get my dad to join that business, and of course he never did. But growing up around that culture, I had that entrepreneurial spirit. Now, I'm afraid to ask anybody for anything. And you mentioned sales. I'm not good at sales, but what I liked is making money. And so it was my idea. In that little town, we had horrible water. So my dad, we'd load up, and about 5 miles down the road, we'd go once a month with a bunch of gallon jugs, and we'd go to a spring, and we'd fill up those jugs. And me and my 2 brothers, we'd shuttle those jugs up there, and that would be the month's supply of spring water. And one day, Stefan, I got this idea. I was about 5 years old. I thought, I'm going to go try to make some money. And so I'll never forget it. It's like it was yesterday. And I had my gallon jugs in my little wagon, and I was going to the first house and that door. And I remember just my eyeballs, just the blood was like beating out of my eyeballs, my heart just pounding. And I'm knocking on there, and I didn't know what I was going to say. And he didn't answer. And I was so excited that he didn't answer. So it gave me courage to go to the next house. Now, that lady lived in a blue house. We called her the Blue Lady. And I'll never forget this. And this is, if you get nothing else out of tonight, this should be enough. And I remember walking up there again, nervous as I could be. And I knocked on the door, and she answered the door. And she looked down at me and she said, "Yes, Aaron, can I help you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. Would you like to buy some water?" And she said, "Well, how much?" I said, "Well, it's only a dime." Now, keep in mind, that's for a gallon of spring water. And she looked at me and she said, "Aaron, I can get water out of my tap for free." But what she said next impacted me. She said, "Aaron, a penny saved is a penny earned. That will never work. No one will ever buy water." Stefan, that was my first and my last day in the water business. Now imagine for a moment if I would have stayed on that path. Imagine if I would have said, "You know what? I'm going to the next house," and if they would have bought, and I would go to the next house. See, again, I'm going to relate it to what we do, and I apologize, I get all fired up, but You guys, it's no different than what you and I do. I share fantastic health, nutrition, and the opportunity to get a healthier bank account. And I then have a choice, like I had a choice with that lady years and years ago, to listen to their opinion. See, that was her opinion, because my question to all of you is this: have you bought any water lately?
We all have.
Yeah, it would have worked.
Yeah, imagine that. Things have changed. So I'm curious about something, and I don't know if I'm cutting you here. Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you want.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm not shortcutting your story.
Oh, ask me anything you want.
How did that impact a kid, a 5-year-old? Because look at today, you still continued on that path, and eventually, I mean, you ran your own business, and then you got started in network marketing, and you would think someone at 5-year-old being crushed, at that age. How come you continued on that path?
Good question. And again, we can apply it to this business or anything in life. See, when somebody gives you their opinion, I actually just gave 40 kids this message 5 minutes ago. When somebody gives you her opinion, see, that was her opinion that would not work. Now, I let it deter me from following through on my water business, but I used it as fuel to show her that I have what it takes to be successful. See, it was only her opinion. And I could have let her opinion of me and what I was doing devastate me and crush me and never try anything again. But instead, I turned that frustration into fuel to go out and make sure that the next thing that I tried, I would not quit, I would not give up, I would not accept somebody's opinion.
Well, that's definitely a common trait among successful people. And so tell me a little bit after that, what happened? You started a business, or what was your experience? It looks like at an early age, you've been quite successful.
Well, I did a lot of things, right? I learned really young that, if you worked hard, people would appreciate that. They'd pay you more money for the harder that you worked. I wasn't good in school. My dad was a school teacher, so I wasn't that good. So as far as book smarts go, that's not me. But what I did do is I talked my, whatever the last 2 years of high school that is, I talked them into letting me get out, and they call it a co-op. And so usually you could get out early, like at 11 o'clock, and then go work for somebody. Well, I convinced them to let me run my own business. So I started a business at 16 while I was still in high school. My last 2 years of high school, I actually was living on my own with a couple guys, and just started to work. Showed up to school a little bit, but realized, if you go out and you work, you can make sky's the limit as far as money goes, or a lot more than somebody be willing to pay you. And so that really started my, or continued my entrepreneurial path. And as you go on, the problem is obviously I was a big part of my business. I got employees, but I could only grow as much as my employees. And that was that trap of, do you get really, really big? And in the middle, all you're doing is just trading paper, right? So you might have made more on paper, but really you were spending more because of the expenses and everything else. And I can kind of just go along into my story, which is finally through an investment, Stefan, I was able to financially be, I'll call it financially retired. I got to go live a dream. I don't know why, but I always wanted to ride horses and rodeo. And I went out and I got to go live that dream. I ended up, and this is just my story, so I don't want to offend anybody, that your business is your business, but I ended up getting baptized in the middle of the arena in the back of a pickup truck in a horse tank at the national finals. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from my friend who had helped me invest all of that money into one thing. And that phone call was simply, I'm sorry, you're broke. Everything that I had was invested into one investment, and it turns out it was a Ponzi scheme. And so I got a chance to start over.
Wow.
Stefan, that's when network marketing found me in a little town in Mississippi while I was in the back of my semi truck on my way to Fort Worth, Texas to a rodeo. A friend introduced me to network marketing. And I knew the concept worked. I wasn't ignorant minded. I wasn't narrow minded, thinking that it was one of those things because I owned one of those things. I was the guy at the top of my traditional business. I used employees for me to make money. I don't care how you paint the picture. I use them to make money. The problem with that model is when they didn't show up, I had to. And when I really wrap my mind around this industry where I could only be the quote unquote guy at the top if I helped more people, but yet they had an opportunity to earn more than me, I embraced that model and I've never looked back.
That's awesome. So tell me, and it's something I've experienced, like myself. I've been through many things in my life. We lost everything, got back on track. So tell me your opinion. Is that something that you see often, where people who struggle, they actually eventually come out of it bigger, stronger, and they make things happen? Does it take your back against the wall to really make it? Or what are your thoughts on this? How does that maybe help you in becoming who you are today?
Here's what I believe. I believe we all go through trials or challenges in our life, call it whatever you want. And if you do a study, if you do any reading, if you do anything about, and we're talking about success now, my definition might be different than most, but for this talk, we'll say success is financial stability. How's that? We'll talk about financial success, so to speak. They're just people like you and I that when life knocked us down, by the way, that happens to all of us in different ways, we decided to get back up. And the unfortunate part in the world today is whether it's early on in somebody's career or later on, so many people, they get knocked down once or twice, and they just decide to stay down. There's no special bullet. There's no magic to any business, especially this business. The difference is here, when you get back up, you're surrounded by other people that have gotten back up. It's actually easier here for people like you and I, and many of you that may be watching this. If you've gone through a challenge, you're going to a challenge, or you're going through a challenge, understand it's easier when you're a part of a company like this to bounce up quicker because you have people cheering you on that have been there. In traditional business, they want to keep you down. Your competition does not want to help build you up. Most of your friends and family don't want you to be successful because they're jealous that you made it in the first place. But here you get around like-minded people that come around you and say, hey, I got your back. You got this. You can do this. That's what's so unique about this industry. And I'll say, Stefan, especially this company, there's some of the best people that I've met, like you and Claudia, and I could name a bunch, that will be here. It's not superficial. It's genuine.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I've been in the industry for many years, and I've seen many companies, been part of several organizations, and you know, this is home. This is really home. This is where we want to build for the rest of our life. So it's a great place. So tell me, how long did it take you to go and recreate an income where you could live off of it after you've been through what you've been through, the challenges, you learn about network marketing, you get on board? Did it happen quickly, or did it take some time? How did it work for you?
So understand, so let's go back there, right? In about, what was it, 2002, 2003. I didn't know what I was doing. So my first company, it was a technology-based company. And again, it found me, and you don't know what you don't know. My sponsor had never been to my state. Still to this day hasn't. Didn't get a Christmas card. I didn't know what I was doing. I never even opened up the company. Back then they had like a cassette, what are those, 8-track? I don't know what those things are called, those VHS tapes or whatever those things were. All I knew is I had no other choice. Now I had created a lifestyle that was relatively expensive. And so I want you to just imagine this. So if some of you are like, well, I don't know, you don't understand, I don't have any money. If this is broke, my first goal was just to be broke again, right? Like I had no money. I had a semi truck. That was my transportation. I was living down south. And so my little house up here, I had actually let a guy who was down on his luck live in my house for free I was living in the yard in my truck because I didn't feel that I should kick him out of my house because I had made a mistake. So for 2 months, I lived in my semi truck in my yard while a guy is living rent free in my house. And I was figuring out this little network marketing deal. I made many mistakes, and many times I would lay down in the middle of my field. One of my favorite speakers is Les Brown, and he's got a saying, when life knocks you down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And that's what kept me going. Every time I thought, I can't do it. I mean, I hear no and no and no, and Aaron, you're crazy. And, you know, I'd walk into a bank president, you know, and I'm showing how he can be financially independent. My phone's blowing up with creditors. I put all $5 in the gas tank, or do I save $1 just in case I get hungry?
Yeah.
Then I'd have to go to people and I'd have to come up and, Stefan, let's say you were one of my friends. I'd say, I need a favor. And you'd say, what? I'd say, could I borrow some money? I need to pay some bills. Well, how much do you need? I need $10,000. I want you to think about that, you guys. I'd walk up to people and say, could I borrow $10,000? Well, when can you pay me back? I'll pay you back in 90 days. Okay, well, how do I know that? Well, I started this little business and I think it'll work. I did that 3 times. No matter what it takes. See, people say, you don't understand, I'm under pressure, I'm under stress. But see, what I learned to do is take that pressure and stress and put it out because I believed in the model. I believed in what I was doing. I didn't believe in my ability at that time. I didn't really even believe in the company that I was with at that time. What I believed in was the model because it just makes sense. When you take all of your head trash out of the equation, it's the most brilliant model in the world. And so many times, it took about 5 years before I had any kind of success. Was I getting by? Yeah, I was barely getting by. But I knew, listen, if somebody else stuck with it and they did it, why not me? And what I spent most of my time doing is working on myself. To this day, I don't listen to the radio. I listen to something positive that I can learn from, right? It's all about growing my mind because I'm not that good. There's many people in the world, especially with the internet, what we're doing here, that you can learn from. But I knew all of my broke buddies and friends that told me what I was doing wasn't going to work. Why would I take their advice when all they were doing is working, just barely getting by? I had already lived that life. I didn't want to go backwards. And the only way forward was looking at those people up on the stage saying, hey, if they can do it, there's no difference. They just worked on themselves. They figured it out. They stayed there long enough, and then it worked.
Exactly. Well, it's, I mean, we got to exchange together at different occasions, and I didn't know your whole story. It's good to hear that because I can remember those days when we lost everything and we're, you know, walking to the like little convenience store, and I can see people talking about us. And I know what they're talking about, that we lost everything. And then I'm going to approach them and tell them, let me show you how to make money. I mean, that doesn't work well. But you go through the numbers, you do just like you said, and you know, you just got to pay the price. You do it enough times and things will happen. So 5 years, that's basically what it took, where you've been dabbling in this and not getting the great results, but still you were consistent, you did it. And then was there...
That's all I do. So for 5 years, I didn't dabble. I was working. But it took me 5 years to figure it out, right? Now, I made some money along the way, but 5 years before, you know, hey, things are starting to go pretty good. And again, that was a different company. It was mismanaged. That company went away, thankfully. You know, again, right? It's a choice. I want to make one point here, though, because I think this is important. Because many times, it's interesting, many times, we hear stories, you know, I lost everything, you lost everything. But I want to say something to those of you that already are living a good life, or maybe an excellent life financially. imagine not have to go through what Stefan and I had to go through, but to start where you're at, right? Never forget, don't think, well, geez, I could never be successful because I don't want to lose everything. You don't have to. You can be listening to this, be a multimillionaire, and this is the most brilliant model that you could be a part of, because then you're the one that's reaching down and pulling up people like us, saying, hey, I can show you a way that you can get out of that trap. So never think, right, that you have to have this tragedy story. Don't wait till the tragedy happens. That's why it's so important to start now, so you don't find yourself in that position.
Yep, there's someone on our team that got started a few weeks ago, and he reached like senior officer level, which is a $2,000 base commission in a week. I mean, it took me a while to reach that, right? And it's because, yeah, I didn't have maybe the credibility, the contacts, like the way he has. He's got experience, he's got connections, and so things happen much more quickly. So you're right, exactly. Don't wait. I mean, if you're in a good position, take action. And if you're not in a so great position, but you haven't lost everything, don't wait. I mean, just don't wait, you know, for things to go bad. So, all right. So tell me right now, and I'll come back to some just other questions a little bit later, but now you're in the business. Things have been happening in ARIIX. When did you make the switch? So you said that company was mismanaged, the company before, and did it go out of business, and then you had to look for a new home? What happened there?
Business, and you know, myself and several friends didn't just go to the next thing, right? We actually all met and got together actually down in Florida, and we spent quite a few days going over different companies. Why did that happen? And meanwhile, everybody that was on our teams, they were like rats off a ship, joining this company, joining that company. But we just waited, right? We stopped, because I don't believe that you can make a good financial decision based on emotion. And we were all very emotional, right? And so we all got grounded. And that small group collectively started to look at different options on the table. That's when ARIIX was brought to us. And it's interesting because there was 12 of us, and we all decided this was the company. And one of them, by the time they got home, jumped and went with another company. So 11 of us, you know, kind of decided this is what we wanted to do. One of the things that I appreciated about this company is they didn't offer us a bribe. They believed in their payout. They believed in their products. They believed in their own leadership. And so they didn't have to say, hey, you know what, we'll start you at the top. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. We'll give you this. It was genuine, authentic people that believed in what they were doing. So it was easy to make that decision. Excuse me.
Yeah, and we see that often. Lots of companies will bribe, you know, people that have done something before, and they say, bring your team and we'll give you something, a special bonus. But then that means taking away from everyone else in the compensation plan to pay those special bonus to key people, where ARIIX doesn't do that. They just say, no, it's all in the comp plan. Just go build your team like everybody else, and you're just going to get more over the long term because everybody can get more. So that's a great.
We're all, right? There's not a few special, everybody's special, and that's what really attracted.
Yeah, good integrity. So in ARIIX, so did it go fast for you?
No, in fact, so as I had mentioned, I run a ranch for kids, and so my life took an interesting turn. At that time, I had a young lady that I was engaged to, and she had left. About 3 months later, that company shut down. That was kind of over the winter. And so I was building my business. You know, I've been running this ranch for kids, and she was pretty much doing that. And so I was faced with, here I'm starting a new business with ARIIX, and I've got a ranch for kids that I've been doing for several years. Do I give up on that ranch for kids and go build a business? And I didn't. And again, whatever you believe, you believe. I did a lot of praying, and I thought, you know what? This is going to work. The right company, it's going to work without me being on a treadmill. And so worked at ARIIX for about 60 to 90 days. And then I took basically the next 6 months off over the summer and was working with the kids. And what was interesting about that is my income didn't dive. My income just kind of stayed. Now, I had taken a big hit from where it was, but that income was just kind of level through the summer. And gradually towards fall, it actually started to rise, even without me there working it. That built my belief. That's actually when I met my now wife. And so the next year, kind of a little bit more momentum. And then it's just been a little momentum, but it's consistent effort that has made all the difference.
Consistency, very key. I see, unfortunately, and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, where you see people getting involved in the business, they work, and then they slow down. They stop, it's vacation time, and then they come back. I know in your case, you've built an organization, you probably had some key people in place that knew how to do it. But when you're starting new, I mean, you got to just be consistent. You just got to be doing it in order to create results. So that's what I've experienced myself. I'm sure you have the same.
Absolutely, right? I mean, and it's, I didn't come over here with 10,000 people, right? Like there was just a handful. And they weren't like professional network marketers. These are just a handful of regular people. But this model is so different, so different. Honestly, I wish I could sit down with anybody that's thinking about this industry and saying, you don't understand. My wife calls it the golden ticket. I mean, we really do. It has nothing to do with you or I or where we're at and success, no success. When you look at this company for what it is and who's running it, if you and I, anybody, we'd sit down and say, let's design the perfect company, if there's such a thing, it would be exactly what we're doing and what we're a part of.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. And so, so tell me, Aaron, how's life now? Why would someone, maybe you can inspire us with what you're able to do and how maybe what residual income means.
Okay, I'll give you two quick stories that are both pretty fresh, right? So this past summer was middle of July, was in Ohio on a family reunion, and I got that phone call, that one that we probably none of us ever want to get. Aaron, Dad's had a stroke. That's about 5 hours from where I live. And I got a younger brother and an older brother. I got a mom. My parents are in their 80s. And because of residual income, because of ARIIX, my wife and I were able to take care of whatever needed to be taken care of financially for my mom. Worry. We were able to spend as much time there, just, here's a hotel, whatever we need. And we were able to continually, and here's what's interesting. See, because building ARIIX is not work. All ARIIX is visiting with people. That's all we do. So guess what I kept doing, even though I was at the hospital, even though I was going through some stuff, with my family. I just kept visiting with people, whether it was on the phone, whether it was down there, whether it was, stabilizing my dad, and there's an event in California and flying out there. Now, I didn't go there the whole time, but I had the flexibility to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to cancel that plane ticket, and then I'm just going to get another ticket. And this isn't, oh, great, this isn't wasting money. This is money that gets you options, right? Had I had a regular job, I would have had to go back to my job. Both of my brothers had to go back to their jobs, right? So it's been a little over 2 months. And at any time that my mom or my parents needed us, we could just go to their side and stay as long as we want. We didn't have to ask permission. And here's what I will tell you. Had I listened to the people around me over the years that told me what I was doing was crazy, that it wouldn't work. See, I will promise you that I would have paid 10 times the price to be able to be a part of what my parents are going through right now and be there for them. There is no price. It's not even a question. Because what's the benefit here? It's not interested. That's not on me, that's on them. They're happy, and you might be happy with your life, but ask yourself this question. If life happens And I pray that it doesn't happen to you. But if life happens, like it happens to most of us, and that tragedy strikes your family, do you have someone that's going to dictate how much time and money that you can invest into that situation? If your answer is yes, I only have limited resources and they will run out quickly, so I couldn't give that away, and I don't have enough time because if I stayed away from my job any length of time, I wouldn't have one, rethink what you're doing, or at least think about a plan B that residually in nature could support you to go be there with your family. So that would be number one. Number two is tonight. Here I am tonight, and I'm just sitting up in a little room in my barn. Happens to be my little weight room. But I've got about 70 people in my living room, and my wife is teaching them about real health. There's probably 40 guests in there learning about real health. While they're all in there, I was able to take 40 kids from a local church, drive them around on a hayride around our little 200-acre place here, 190-acre place, whatever, feeding horses and sheep and having fun and inspiring them so they can do more with their life, giving them some of these same lessons. What would have happened if I just settled and had a regular job? I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Now, your goal is, I'm sure, different than mine. I have a passion for helping kids, especially hurting kids, because hurting kids grow up. And I believe all of us have a little boy or a little girl inside of us. And by the way, that little hurting kid is typically what holds you back from going out and achieving your dreams and accomplishing your goals. I don't know if I answered.
Well, yes, you have. And when I hear you tell those stories and what you're able to accomplish, and you think about this and you say, wow, you know, what else would I be doing that would offer me that flexibility, that, you know, these options that you have? But still, there are people who will come and say, oh, you know, I don't see myself doing one of those things. I don't want to bug people and try to convince them to buy products or, you know, join this deal and try to recruit their friends. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, first of all, this business isn't for everybody. It should be, but it isn't. And I was thinking about this. So, you know, Stefan, I've got friends here, and they were here last night. We had a little home presentation, health talk. And I've got friends that are in business with me. Now, I've got friends that aren't too. But when somebody says, you know, oh, I don't want to do one of those things, my question back to you is this, because I've been talking to a lot of millennials lately, and the theme is always the same. They want time freedom, and they want to make more money. Here's what I believe. I believe in the not too distant future, you and I are going to be sitting at a coffee shop somewhere, sitting at a restaurant somewhere at like 9 o'clock or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not at lunchtime, at a table, and somebody's going to come up and sit down at the table, and they're going to say, wow, I just got a job. I'm so excited. And we're going to look at them and we're going to say, really? You're going to do one of those things? Like, man, I can't believe you'd want to do one of those things, those pyramid things where the guy at the top makes all the money and you're going to do all the work. And then they're going to dictate your time. And then statistically, they're going to end up terminating you. The company's going to go out of business and you're going to have to go find another one of things. How many of those things are you going to try before you realize those things don't work? See, because I've never met anybody with one of those things. I mean, and I have nothing wrong with a job. Met anybody that had one job their whole life. They worked 30 or 40 years. They financially retired and they're living their dream life. Not one. But boy, I can find dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people in this industry that are able to go live their dream life because they're doing one of these things.
So do you think, do you feel you're bugging and chasing people?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm chasing people. I'm chasing people long enough to get the information. I chased a guy named Bruce Morris. For 2 years, I chased him. I didn't bug him. See, there's a fine line between persistence and being a pest, right? There's a very fine line. You don't want to be a pest, but you want to be persistent. Persistent long enough to share the information. See, it took me 2 years. I can't get on my phone because I'm using my phone so you can hear me right now. But I'll give you the text that I got last week because he's only been on our program 1 week. Aaron, happy Sunday. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for staying after me. My first full week, I'm down 17.4 pounds. Now, Aaron, there's been times in the past that I've lost 15 pounds in a week, but never has it been this easy. It always has been so hard I could never stick with it. Not only that, my wife and my children have noticed how simple it's been for me this time and also want to get started on the program. Do you think he's glad that I stayed persistent? See, I wasn't a pest, but I was persistent. See, you got to understand something. You don't got to bug people here. All we do is share information. What they do with that information is totally up to them. See, in Bruce's case, after learning the information, it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. See, he didn't want to do one of those things. Guess what Bruce is today? He's a new teammate. Did I beg him? Did I bug him? Was I a pest? Absolutely not. I was persistent long enough because I care about him and his health and his family. Now, if he would have said, hey, I'm not interested, I'm done. He's still my friend. I'll text him once in a while on Christmas or holiday. But you know what? As a friend, and by the way, we're all somebody's friends and family. We're all brothers and sisters. We all are human beings. And I believe that we owe it to people to at least share information that can improve their lives. So if somebody wants to call me a pest, they can call me anything they want. But I can line you up hundreds, probably even thousands of people now that would say, man, I'm so glad. I'm so glad somebody stayed after me long enough because it's not what I thought.
Beautiful. And, I think we've got something in our hands that sometimes is clouded with your own perceptions, own judgment, maybe experiences and things like that. It doesn't mean that that's the same thing. There's new opportunities. There's new things happening. I mean, this company totally revolutionized the network marketing industry. And we're a living proof of that. I've been in a couple companies, didn't have personally success, and then found my success here. And so we're really happy to build this company. And Aaron, it's been a pleasure to hear your story, and just really, really enjoy being around you. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people hang around in this business is because they want to be surrounding themselves with people with a positive attitude who wants to move ahead. And I hear like all this small talk, these conversations left and right about all the economy, there's this, there's that, and all of this drama going on, and you get into this kind of business and it's all positive towards how can we build and how can we create and how can we impact more people's lives. And I've seen you do that with Ginger, with a Real Health Revolution and Team Rock Solid. And so you guys are really doing a great job over there. So thank you for shaping this company with us. We're, having a good time. So with this being said, if you have any word of, final word you want to say, just want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And, you guys, it is an honor. And the last person that anybody would have ever picked is me. I'm shy by nature. I hate selling anything. I'd rather give you everything that I got than ask you to do anything for me. But if you're watching this and if you're already a part of ARIIX or if you're thinking or contemplating, here's what I would say. They just try to overthink things. I've never been I've never been that smart. I just made a quick decision and then I went for it. And you say, well, what if it doesn't work? And then I say back to you, what if it does? You see, we don't get punished here for it working. You don't even get punished if it doesn't work. See, because we all know that it does. But what you will do, many of you, is you will lay awake at night wondering, what if? What if I just made that decision, and for once in my life, not worried about what other people think? You see, they're not going to show up when they plant me in the ground. There's none of them that ever stood up and said, Aaron, I'll pay your bills. I'll take care of your family. I'll take care of everything for you. See, all of those people that said it wouldn't work, and all of the people that are around you, and even that little voice in your head, isn't going to take care of you. See, Stefan, what we all need to do as human beings is stand up for ourselves and learn to make a decision and then just go. We've been a society of complacency, and we've let everybody else make our decisions for us. So if there's one piece of advice, if you're watching this, don't think too much. You've probably done that your whole life. And with all due respect, it's probably not worked out exactly how you thought it was going to. Just decide, hey, I'm going to go do this because if that crazy guy in the red shirt it's working for, and if that wonderful, good-looking Canadian it's working for, why can't it work for you? Because here's what I will tell you. It absolutely can, and you're surrounded by people that will help you all the way to the top.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for spending time with us, and look forward to interview your beautiful wife in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll let you go and meet your team over there. Thanks for spending this time with us. Always great words of advice. And guys, take action. It's not just learning. It's not just listening. It's about going and implementing what you've learned tonight. And I think what you've shared tonight is really, really helpful. And I'm personally going to go and, put the pedal to the metal again and just keep on rocking and build this team. So thanks, Aaron.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Tell Claudia I said hi.
Okay, I will. All right. Bye-bye.